Hey everyone, my name is Devin. I'm a fourth year medical student at Imperial College London. Welcome to my channel. I make videos about student lifestyle, medicine and tech, and so if any of that interests you, make sure you smash that subscribe button down below. Welcome to part 3 of my How to Save Money series. Part 1 was about shopping, part 2 was about banking. Both of those will be linked in the description down below. Now this video was made with students in mind, but don't fret if you're not a student because these things will still be applicable to you guys. So this episode will focus more about bills, rents, subscriptions, transport, and also utilising student discounts. And so with that said, I hope you guys do enjoy. Let's jump straight into the video. So we're going to start off quite easy. There's two main sort of players in the student discount game, and they are Uni Days and Student Beans. Now I'll bet you 2 subscribers that there'll be something useful for you guys if you check it out. But they tend to have deals on so many different big brands like Apple, Samsung, ASOS, all these big names, and there'll be something that you can use. They offer discounts of something like 10%, 20%, and they all vary, but they're super duper useful. They're super duper useful and they're free, so why not check it out? The next thing is to carry your student card with you. Most shops actually don't advertise this, but if you ask in store, there's no harm, and often they always have a student discount available, and it's usually like 10%, 20%, but you won't know if unless you ask really. And what's more is if you're a medical student, you tend to have NHS written on your student card, or sometimes you have an NHS smart card. So a lot of places offer either an NHS discount or a student discount, so you're kind of set. And as I said, they're like 10%, 20%, so you're bound to make a saving. And what's more is that if you're subscribing to services like Spotify or Apple Music, they cost about £10 usually, but for students they give you half price. It's a simple thing and it's easy to see, but some people just miss it. So if you're one of those, make sure you pay attention to that, because you can save a lot of money that way. Now moving on to rent. Rent is very important. You don't want to get kicked out of your house, you get what I mean, right? And you want to pay it on time. And it's really easy to get caught into this thing where you put all your rent in one account, and then you don't know how much you're able to spend, how much you need to save and all that, because it's all like sort of clustered together. So what I recommend is to put the rent money away in a separate account, or a pot or something, so that way you know how much you're able to spend. Because if you start eating out your rent money, you'll end up not being able to pay rent, and that can get you kicked out literally. So that's something you definitely want to avoid. Now this tip doesn't really apply to people who are living in halls, but once you go out into private accommodation, you're going to have to pay for your own gas and electricity, and they tend to be very expensive. But you need to make sure that you go for a cheaper provider, because like for example last year I was paying for Scottish Power, and this year I actually switched to Bulb, and I don't think it makes a difference in the quality of electricity or gas, but it's a lot cheaper, and there's no reason not to go for it. I mean, they're reliable, they're respected, so you might as well. And I saved up to like £5-10 a month just by switching providers. And if it's not in your contract, obviously, because sometimes in your contract they say you can't change provider, but if you can, you should definitely do this. Now I'm not really sponsored by Bulb, but I have a cheeky little link in the description for you guys, which is a referral link, and it will give you £50 if you sign up. That's £50 for free into your account. You can do whatever you want with it at the end of your contract, obviously, and you can spend that towards your electricity, or at the end just withdraw it and use it as usual. So that's really cool. Make sure you check that out and click that if you're signing up. Moving on to Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi is really important, especially for me, and I would say don't cheap out on Wi-Fi, because if you're paying for high-speed internet and you're paying like, let's say £30 a month, and if you've got 3 people in the house, you'll be paying about £10 per month, which is really affordable. And obviously you can go for something cheaper and go for like 5 megabits for like £10, and you'll be paying what, £2-3 each, right? But it's really not worth it, because for £7 you'll be getting 10, 20, 50, I don't know how much times more Wi-Fi speeds, and Wi-Fi is really important. So you want to make sure that you don't cheap out on Wi-Fi. But the way you save money in Wi-Fi is if you can find a provider that offers you a mobile SIM and also a Wi-Fi broadband, you can save a lot of money, because they often give you deals, and sometimes they give you a set amount of free data. So for me, I think you get like a 5 GB boost, or if you get one of their expensive plan, that you get a 20 GB boost, which is really nice. Or sometimes they give you a cheaper price. So it's definitely worth checking out if you can get something with a similar provider. Another thing you could consider is paying slightly more for your mobile SIM, because if you can get a mobile SIM that gives you unlimited data, or maybe 100 GB, and you don't use too much data, you can just live alone off of mobile data itself, and it tends to be a lot cheaper than paying for a small mobile data and a big Wi-Fi together. But for me, it's not really great, because I tend to use a lot of Wi-Fi data, and I think a lot of people do. So getting that amount of Wi-Fi is getting that amount of mobile data is actually quite expensive. So I'd not really recommend it. But if you're one of those guys who doesn't use Wi-Fi a lot, but still has it, you could consider doing that. And another reason you don't want to do that is actually because a lot of the times houses don't get good 4G or 5G, and there'll be places in the house where you don't get signal. So what's the point of paying for that if you're not getting it? So ideally, what I would say is to get decent Wi-Fi from a respected provider, and get it from the same provider as I was saying before. That way you get better deals. Guys, it's that time of the video where you have to make sure you go and drop a like down below. I'm watching, make sure you do it. But leave me a comment as well if you're enjoying the video so far, and if there's anything that you found useful or helpful. So make sure you go do that right now. So the next thing is that you need to make sure that you split things within housemates, because a lot of the time you might be like, oh, I'll be nice and I'll buy this and I'll buy that, I'll keep doing this. But then your housemates get into the habit that you're always doing something, and you're always like, oh, I have to do it because that's my job. But it shouldn't be the case. You need to split up your chores, or buy stuff, separately, like one at a time, take turns, or split the money. There needs to be some kind of rota of some sort, and that avoids you overspending and your flatmates just not spending at all. And in addition to this, you want to make sure that you split up subscriptions like Netflix or Disney or stuff like that, because they can sometimes be a bit more pricey. Like Netflix is £12 if you want an Ultra HD and 4 screens. But if you split it between 4 people, that's £3 a month, which is a solid deal. And if you got 4 people in the house, it's ideal, because Netflix has such a huge category of things to watch. And if you're doing Disney Plus, I think it's like £6 a month. And if you split that between 4 people, that's like £1.50. And it's really affordable. So make sure that you don't just buy a subscription on your own, because if you get like the standard Netflix subscription for one person, that's like £8 or something like that, which is really not worth it. So I'd say spend that little bit more and then distribute it within your housemates, and that ends up with a cheaper, more effective price. Moving on to transport, you really want to get a 16 to 25 rail card if your university is away from your house, your home, because it only costs about £30. But if you're often taking the train to and from sort of uni and your house, in the holidays or Christmas, stuff like that, then you're gonna easily make up your money. And if you're doing a 3-year degree, you can spend £70 and get a 3-year travel card. Now for me, I saved about £7 on each journey home. And if you multiply that, that's about just over 4. So that means pretty much 4 journeys and I made back my money. So you'd end up saving a lot of money, because it gives you 30% off, which is quite a significant amount. And if you're living in London, you want to make sure that you get an 18+ Oyster and then combine it with this 16 to 25 rail card, because what that means is you'll obviously get your cheaper student prices on your travel card, but you'd also get 30% off off-peak travel. And it may seem like a small amount, like £1 or £2 per journey, but if you're using the train every day, it adds up and you end up saving a lot of money. Now obviously, if you want to save some more money, you could always walk, and especially with COVID going on right now, it's the best way to social distance. And you can think about, maybe if you have some good company, you can always walk with them, or if you're not into walking, cycle, or even get the bus. Again, with social distancing, it's not ideal, but let's just say that wasn't the case and it was some other time, then buses are a lot cheaper than using the train in London, and I believe elsewhere as well, just in general. Finally, you need to make sure that you don't splurge on textbooks or essentials that you need for university, because a lot of the time you can access them for free online. Like textbooks, they're always online for free, and the things that university asks you to get, you don't always need it, because they're always like, oh, get this textbook, get that textbook, read this professor, but you don't need it. Obviously you might want to read it, that's a separate thing, but it's not essential. And a lot of these checklists that they give you are always like too much, and you just don't need these things. I would say wait until you get into university and see what other people do, see what is actually required for your course, before you start spending on hundreds of pounds on these things, and then you get to uni and you're like, actually I don't even need it. Like on the checklist, they said you need this Ethernet cable if you're coming to university, but like no one actually uses Ethernet. most of your devices use Wi-Fi right now, unless you're like hardwiring a computer, but no one really does that at uni, right? So these kind of things are just a waste. Obviously this is like £5, so it's not too much, but at a bigger scale, and when it keeps happening again, textbooks, they're very pricey, they're like £30-40. They just sit on your desk and, you know, they get no use. So yeah, basically you want to make sure that the stuff you're buying you're actually going to use. And so that brings the video to a close. I hope you guys did enjoy. Make sure you let me know in the comments down below what your favorite tip was and what you found useful. Make sure you like and subscribe for more future content like this. And so with that said, I hope you guys have a good day. I've been Devify, and I am out.